economy shrank between April and June as households cut their spending in response to the rising cost of living.
Yes, gross domestic product fell 0.1% in the second quarter, with retail sales falling and health sector output dropping, mostly due to the end of COVID schemes like Test and Trace. The contraction was less than predicted, but experts warn that the risk of a recession is rising.
Well, let's talk to the distinguished economist, Vicky Pryce, board member at the Centre for Economics and Business Research. Vicky, welcome back. Are we in a recession, kind of, really, now?
No, although it's beginning to feel that way. But in reality, in order to have a technical recession, you need 2 quarters of negative growth. The interesting thing is that we're quite likely to have seen an increase in this quarter, which is Q3, because, of course, you've been discussing drought, but good weather, people have been going out, quite a lot of activities going on. There's been quite a lot of willingness to travel and spend money in the summer. It's also, we have seen a little bit of manufacturing uptick taking place, although the construction sector is beginning to suffer. So this summer may not be too bad. The expectations are for an increase in GDP in the third quarter. Then we're likely to see quite a slowdown in the last quarter of 2022, mainly because of further increases in energy costs for households, mostly. And the predictions are that the last quarter will have negative growth, and that negative growth may continue in the first quarter of 2023. So that's really when the recession will seriously kick in. This was just a relatively small fall in one quarter for all sorts of reasons that your correspondent there described.
Ministers and their officials might well be distracted by the leadership contest taking place at the moment. Which economic policies, if any, might we see being put forward this autumn?
Well, we know that the two contestants for the leadership, Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak, of course, was the Chancellor, and he had already been very significantly involved in the various measures that transferred money to those most in need, who are facing right now high energy costs, high food prices, high transport costs. So there was already 37 billion or thereabouts, which is supposed to be distributed already. And some of it has started happening, even though we have a bit of paralysis in terms of the politics of it. The administrative machine is working, and it is happening. Plus, we have just heard that there's likely to be more support for energy-intensive sectors, so that some of the electricity costs are reduced in the future, so that's good news. So there are various things happening. But if you look at what the two contestants have been promising, they have been increasing their promises to households. So Rishi Sunak has now said that he's prepared to offer more help for needy households, cut VAT on energy bills, and also, in addition, give extra something like £5 billion to individuals that need it, again at the lower end of the income scale. And we're likely to see, possibly if it is Liz Truss, some cuts in other taxes, such as national insurance contributions, both for employees and employers. So there is going to be a certain amount of help given. There is no way in which any of those two people who are looking to lead the Tory party and also be prime ministers will be able to not have an emergency budget that starts redistributing a large amount of money to those that are most affected by the crisis.
And how does the UK economy compare to other economies in Europe who are also, of course, battling similar circumstances, rising inflation, cost of living and so on?
We've seen a complete mix, which is quite interesting. So, some countries have managed to actually enjoy quite a good summer right now because, of course, there's tourism and so on. So some of the southern European countries are doing better than you would have expected. There are serious concerns about Germany and its industrial output because of constraints that, again, you were covering earlier, are going to be a serious problem for them. So they're already looking at ways in which they can restrict the amount of energy they use. We've already seen, in fact, energy use of gas use being reduced quite considerably in Germany, which is quite interesting that they're implementing quite a lot of changes already. And then, of course, you've seen some countries further east, the ones that are closer to Russia, where we've seen not just gas being cut, the supplies, but also oil most recently. So there are serious issues for a number of countries, and inflation has been very different. Again, the Baltic countries, huge increases in inflation, over 20%. We've got France, which is keeping energy costs under control, having inflation much lower, just somewhere around 6%. So huge differences across is really what we're seeing, and every country dealing with it in very different ways. So though everyone is united to if you like, to ensure that we can get through all this, in reality, there are very different measures being introduced in each place.
Vicky Pryce, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
These